The city of Sydney is on the southeast coast of Australia. It's the country's biggest city, with a population of over 4.2 million people, and it's considered to be one of the most beautiful and cosmopolitan cities in the world. It certainly is an international city. Over half of the people who live here were born outside Australia. Sydney is sometimes called the Harbour City, as it is built around a natural harbour. Although this area was occupied for at least 30,000 years by the Aboriginal people before the Europeans arrived, the city of Sydney is quite young. So are the people who live in Sydney. Almost half the city residents are aged between 20 and 40, and over a quarter of these are students. The first Europeans arrived on the 26th of January 1788. They were led by Captain Arthur Phillips. He arrived with 11 ships full of over 700 British criminals. This date is celebrated every year with a national holiday called Australia Day. The city is visited by over 2.5 million tourists every year. Sydney is most famous for the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, which has to be one of its most spectacular buildings. The Harbour Bridge was started in 1924, and it finally opened in March 1932. The bridge is just over 1 kilometre long and carries 8 lanes of traffic, 2 train lines, a footway, and cycleway. Over 160,000 vehicles cross the bridge every day between the centre of the city and the north shore of the harbour. Since 1998, the general public has been able to climb the 1,439 steps to the top of the bridge. There have been over 1,100 marriage proposals made at the top, and in 2008, the first wedding took place there. Moving further along in the harbour, we find the famous Sydney Opera House. The Opera House was designed by a Danish architect called Jon Utzon, who won a competition to design the building. His design was considered to be amazing at the time, but in practical terms, it was very difficult to build. The building was started in 1958, but when the building finally opened in October 1973, it was 10 years late and had cost 102 million Australian dollars when it was meant to cost 7 million. But now everyone recognises the beautiful building, and it is visited by over 2 million people every year. There are 1,000 rooms inside and more than 1 million tiles on the roof. In 2007, it was chosen as a United Nations World Heritage Site, like the pyramids in Egypt and the Taj Mahal in India. The Sydney Opera House is just one of the many jewels that this great cosmopolitan Australian city has to offer. There's much, much more to see and experience.